Caucus.
Or stand or break for the workshop crack.
What's that, Mark? Okay, we have some items for action this evening. Before we start on that, I would like to table item A. We need to talk with the manager about it when he gets back this week. So that'll be so Ashley, B will be A, the C will be B, the D will be C, and so on and so forth. So A will be, we will not be acting on A this evening. Let's see here now. I would like to request that all these ordinances and resolutions be read by title only, if that's okay with you this evening. Okay, start with A. John, you want to do A?
I'll do A.
Mayor, you want to do B?
I will do B.
And Don, you want to do C? Okay. And John, would you like to do D? Sure. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Revisions to the agenda this evening? Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Here.
Mr. Kozak?
Here.
Mr. Morvay?
Here.
Mr. Rogers?
Here.
Mr. Tisch?
Thank you very much. Okay, number 4, you've all received the minutes from the February 5th meeting. Are there any revisions to those minutes?
I have none.
You have none? Okay.
I have none.
They stand approved, that is written too also. Under communications, Mayor?
Really have nothing.
Nothing. Mr. Morvay?
I do not have anything.
Mr. Edge? Nothing this time. Chief, anything you want to say tonight? Communications, no?
No.
Mark, nothing?
No, sir.
Okay. Under reports from committees, Mayor, would you like to report? Mayor's Court.
Mayor's Court, we gave the finances, the monies that we took in, as I recall, $9,500 gross, and we netted about $7,500. I gave that report. I do not have the numbers with me, but I'm pretty close to knowing what we did. In the month of January, we had approximately 260 traffic stops, which would lead you to believe that's a lot of tickets. Well, it's not. 1 out of 6 stops on average result in a citation. The remainder are verbal or written warnings. And I think that's important for everybody to know. We have a reputation of stopping everybody. Well, yes, we do stop. We always have a reason to stop. But every stop does not result in a ticket or a citation. 1 out of 6 result in a citation. I think that's a good job that the department's doing. That's all I have.
Okay, Mayor. Mr. Morvay.
The fire district has the website up and running. It's work in progress, so I know there's a lot not on there yet, but they're getting up to speed on that. So
Okay, Mr. Morvay. Mr. Dragish. Okay, your report. Chief, you want to report for the manager tonight? Or?
Yeah, just briefly compliment the Public Works Street Department with limited resources, specifically salt. They did an amazing job, I thought, yesterday in keeping the roads clear and being conservative in the use of the salt. And it's still thin, what we have left, but they managed that storm yesterday very well in the new conditions that they're not used to, so they did well. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Very good. My Chief. Mark.
2 items. First is the 7th District Court of Appeals has upheld the lower court dismissal of the Todd case that had been filed against the city of Canfield. It was a public records case where they had requested, sometime ago, this case was filed about 2 years ago, they had requested reel-to-reel tapes that just ordinarily and customarily had been taped over every 24 hours. And there were a group of individuals doing this around the state. There's a penalty if you destroy records, and they've kind of found a little niche to file some lawsuits and try and get rich on a couple of communities. The lower court had thrown the case out, dismissed the case. They appealed, and the 7th District Court of Appeals upheld the dismissal. I was informed of that yesterday. So I'm very happy with that. At the end of the day, the requester of the records did not even have the machine to play the tape that had been requested. So it was pretty obvious that they had no intention to utilize the Public Records Act for its purpose, its public purpose. Secondly, working on a couple of ordinances. One you'll probably see in the next couple of meetings will be a modification to our structured demolition requirements. While most individuals come forward with a request for demolition and provide information about asbestos abatement, removal, and the existence of hazardous materials, we're not going to make that part of our process. Where we're going to need a certification from a asbestos contractor as to the inspection, the results of the inspection, and the plan of removal. I've provided a draft of an ordinance to the zoning inspector and the city manager. We'll beat it up over the next couple weeks, and then you'll probably see it on your agenda shortly.
Very good.
And then I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions from Mark? Okay, we'll move forward. Item 7, on recognition of persons desiring to speak before council, may I ask you step forward into podium and state your name and address clearly for the record and keep your comments brief. We'll go in order as they are written. Steve Easton, come forward.
I'm Steve Easton. I live at 280 Glenview Drive, and my concern is the same as last meeting, flooding along Sawmill Run Creek, and particularly concerned about tomorrow night. They're predicting a heavy thunderstorm, rains overnight, Thursday night, and I'm going to be sleeping with one eye open looking toward the creek. Question for you tonight, is anything going to be in the 2014 budget for doing anything at all along Sawmill Run Creek?
Joe's out here to speak on behalf of that too also tonight. So, do you recall anything, Johnny? I don't believe I can't say anything at this point right now. Joe can't speak.
Well, I'd like to request that something be included in there to do something along Sawmill Run Creek in the year 2014.
Yeah, we haven't even started working on the budget yet. I know that there's a rough draft out there, but we haven't, I haven't seen it, Steve, so I can't tell you.
Now's the time to get it in there then.
Yeah.
And along those lines, and Joe's not here, but I'm sure there are funds available, state funds or federal funds, to deal with this kind of a problem. And I'd like to know if any possibility of applying for some of those to help out in the situation.
We'll follow up with Joe.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Steve.
it. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. We'll get back to you on that. Mr. McKeon?
Good evening, I'm Frank McKee. I reside at 220 Glenview. Although this wasn't on my agenda to speak tonight, Steve, I'm going to take advantage of it. In regard to the Sawmill Creek issue, I've mentioned several times that we ought to be looking at a way to move this water quickly out of the city. And we do have restrictions that are preventing that from happening, i.e. the Brokar driveway and the Glenview underpass. Both of them restrict the flow of the water. And I would hope we can do something with getting the water moving. And that would relieve a lot of problems here in the city. I know we're moving ahead on Fairview. Sawmill Creek really needs something done. The next item, the website. I see we're putting some information up on our website, and that's a good step in a positive direction. I don't know whether the meeting minutes are on there or not, John.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they are.
I didn't find them, but-
They're right above, if you go to public notice, and then
Oh, all right.
it's right. The minutes are first under council minutes, and then council agenda is the current agenda that we're dealing with this evening.
If I might make a suggestion, let's let the people of the city know that that is available. And I have suggested as to how we might do that. Every month we send out a water bill, a little envelope. We could put a notice in each person's water bill saying, this stuff is available at this here website, and this is what you can find. Perhaps even this is when city council meets. Now, if you need somebody to stuff the envelopes, I'll help Mrs. Burnett do that. But it's a good way to get that information out. It wouldn't take much to print out 3,000 or 4,000 of those little flyers, stick them in there.
Maybe if one of our like illustrious news reporters that might be here this evening might put a little blurb in there.
I presume he would do that, being the gentleman that he is.
Frank, we need a workers' comp waiver if you're going to stop the envelope.
I'll sign it, no problem. However, if the prosecutor comes in, I might not. Also, to add on to what Steve mentioned, in my trips around the city, I noticed there are several drainage creeks, like up on the Skyline or Hilltop area. There are creeks going through there. Some of those creeks are really full of debris, and I don't know if the city has responsibility for clearing those creeks or not, but I think it's something we should be really looking at to move that water out of those places. There's a lot of crap in it.
The city does have the authority pursuant to the revised code. I think I told you, Mr. Easton, 2 clear water courses within its
As I
limits.
recall you saying that.
Absolutely. Authority. I mean, they're not mandated, but there's
Right.
authority to get it done.
Next item, I would like for the record to read to City Council a talk I gave at the Design Review and Historical Preservation Board's last meeting. And let me quote, "I have refrained from addressing this board on this issue lest it be interpreted as being political. My comments may or may not apply to this board or committee or any other, you decide. I have the impression that there are board members who consider their position as their space. I have the impression that there are board members who, if they do not like an issue, such as term limits, feel they are being messed with. Permit me to give my opinion. If anyone feels that board membership is their space, they are grossly wrong. This space belongs to the residents of Canfield. That strikes me as being arrogant and authoritarian. None of us is going to agree with all the issues confronting the city. But if any board member's reaction is vile, bitter, judgmental, and childish, they do not belong representing the residents of the city." Next, while canvassing the city for signatures, I encountered people in the historic district who would not sign for fear of retribution from this board in case they ever appeared in front of it. Is that how you want to operate or be perceived? Intimidation will not work with me. You may recall, and I'm addressing this board now, during the hearing for the Dollar General store, I asked to be recognized but was denied. I have a question about that process. The chairperson referred my request to Mr. Frazzini. Now, as I understand it, Mr. Frazzini is not a member of this board, but is there as a resource. Why was he a decision maker? Who's in charge? I thank you for your time. I wish you a successful 2014. End of quote. I think I mentioned at one time that we don't get a lot of information from these boards. We get an occasional report, but apparently there's not a whole lot of oversight. I certainly would like to see more reports and let the city know what's going on if we put it in the minutes. And in conclusion, just for the record, once again, I'd like to see 2 readings of every issue. Thank you for your time.
Okay, number 8, under whole business, there is none. Before we do 9, I want to say one thing too. We're gonna make a note that we're gonna be having a public hearing March 19th. Make a note of that at 5:45 p.m. to address the issue of the rezoning of the properties on West Main Street, Elizabeth Street, in reference to the proposed new Canfield Library. This will be. Then we'll address that in the council meeting as far as having the second reading. But we're going to have an open meeting before council meeting, and then we'll have a reading at the council meeting. Okay? Any questions on that?
Got it.
Okay with you?
Got it.
March 19th? All right, good. Under 9, under new business, as provisions of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that we dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize by adoption by adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, and as per provision of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorize by title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dragish. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Mr. Morvay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this ordinance was originally labeled item B. It's now A. And I have an ordinance creating the Fairview Drive Stormwater Management Fund, and I move for passage.
Yes. Second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dragish. Any discussion? There being none, will the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Thank you. And the number is, clerk?
2014-7.
2014-7.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mark.
if I may, the clerk just asked me a question. I think she's right about this. In terms of, just clarifying for the record, did we get a motion to table item A, what was previously item A?
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think it would be best, and by tabling it, it means you must take it off the table at the next meeting, but Joe will be here and be able to explain it. It doesn't require you to vote yes, it just requires you to consider it at the next meeting when you table something, but I would agree with the clerk that I think it probably is best that we have a formal motion tabling what was item A.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion at this time that we postpone or table ordinance A that's listed on our agenda for this evening, and I move for passage.
I'll second that. Say, okay, sir. Okay. And Mayor, any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can number that too also? You got a number, right? You're not?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, it's back to B here. Okay, as provisions of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that we dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption by state upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? There be none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, and as per the provisions of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorized by title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Dragish, discussion. Being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, Mayor.
We have an ordinance approving the replat of Canfield City Lot 1498 and 1499 at Fairground Boulevard by Jeff Kuzak.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Morvay, discussion. There be none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Thank you, clerk. And the number is?
2014-8.
Okay. Item C, which was a D. As provision of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move to dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed resolution, and authorize adoption by same upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, and as per provision of section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed resolution and authorized by title only. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Kozar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes, thank you. Okay, Mr. Dragish.
Item C, a resolution authorizing the city manager to submit an application for funding under the Safe Routes to School program.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? There be none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, and number is?
2014-4.
Okay, thank you very much, clerk. All right, item E. As provision section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move to dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed resolution and authorize adoption by St. upon its first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Morvay. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Okay, and as provision section 4.05 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of full reading of the proposed resolution and authorized by title only. Do I have a second? Second. Second, Mr. Dragish. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Mr. Morvay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager of the City of Canfield to execute and file an application with the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments for an ODOT Transportation Alternatives Program grant for the East Main Street Sidewalk Replacement Project and declaring an emergency, and I move for passage.
Thank you, Mr. Morvay. Do you have a second? Second. Mr. Dragish. Discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dragish?
Yes.
Mr. Cosar?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Motion passes. And number is?
2014-5.
Thank you, clerk. Okay, come to Councilman's comments. Mayor.
Yeah, I would like for council to take under consideration that I move my chair closer to the president of council so that I can second some of these things. That's all I have.
Mr. Morvay.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, the City of Canfield website. Now you can go on and look at the agenda for this meeting prior to this meeting, and our phones are always open to anybody. If you have questions or concerns about the ordinance or resolution or whatever is going on at the particular meeting, please call. We're more than glad to share our information with you. And so you go on to the site, go over on the left-hand side to public notices, and then toggle down to the agenda, and you'll see the agenda for this evening, and the minutes are right above that, Frank. I'm a basketball fan, so one of my most admired players was Michael Jordan, and I've got a quote from him, and I'm going to read it. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeeded.
Well said.
Not
Close.
smoking.
I got nothing. Thank you. I want to hear tonight too. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.
Order. 7 o'clock.